Hey free-to-play gang, welcome back to another video. Now, I should have uploaded this a little bit earlier and I truly apologize for it, but how should we prepare for when the update drops? Because I do know that when the update drops, a lot of us are going to go crazy to try to fuse our own first copy of Everett, and I'm personally going to try to get a R6 Everett as soon as I can, okay? So it might take me at least 1 week. But the thing is, while you're trying to fuse for the odets, there are some other resources that you might need as well. So the thing is, not only do you need 3000 Shimmer Crystal Diamonds and 1200 of each element Crystal Diamonds just to fuse one copy of Everett, you will need some other stuff as well, and what I'm talking about are Ascension materials if you do not already have them at hand. So noting that we will be farming Dislyte lands like crazy just to get the fusion materials, we will not have any other time for material farming during that period of time. So we have between now and the update, which is dropping on Tuesday, to then get hold of all of these materials. So the first material that we are going to be talking about is the Ascension materials, and I know I'm using Joseph here, but I do not have any other Shimmer type epics at hand. So we will need to get a phase 5 Ascension on our Odet, which means that we need 10 basic materials, 15 more basic materials, 10 advanced and 20 basic, 5 elite and 15 advanced, and then finally another 10 more elites and 25 more advanced. And this totals for one single Odet to be 45 basics, 50 advanced, and 15 elites. And for you to fuse one copy of Everett, we will need 4 Odets at 5 Ascension, which is a total of 180 basics, 200 advanced, and 60 elite pieces. So there is going to be quite a lot of farming to do before that. So with that out of the way, that is just one single copy of Everett. But obviously, we're not even talking about getting the other Ascension materials for that said Everett as well. Now, another thing that we can talk about is, if let's say you've already acquired all the Ascension materials, then what I'm actually doing right now is farming Fafnir. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the different relics that you can use to equip onto your brand new Everett, which I think works a lot for him. So we're going to start off with the most obvious one, which is Chronos. I do feel like there are two sets that stand out a lot over here. I mean, okay, you can definitely include the Master Growth piece over here, but I do feel like maybe something else might be better, which I will talk about as well. So the main sets that stand out a lot to me, number one is going to be Windwalker, because it doesn't hurt to have a lot more speed so that you can use your third skill a little bit sooner, because the passive 20% damage mitigation for your allies does require your third skill to be on cooldown. So Windwalker is not bad. Snow Dowager is not bad as well, because you are going to be attacked sometimes, and when that happens, you're going to freeze the enemy 25% of the time, but I do feel like this might require a little bit of accuracy as well. And then moving on to Apep, there are two more sets that stand out to me, one being a main set, which is Hades. So some of you guys have actually decided Hades is the way for you. So 35% lifesteal, which is pretty good, because whenever he counterattacks with his second skill, he is also going to counterattack with an additional healing from that second skill, and on top of that, you will then have an additional 35% lifesteal, which is not bad. And obviously, if you already had a Donor or a Hype build, then you can definitely transfer all of these Hades sets over to your Everett. And then moving on to the second set, this is going to be Sword Avatara. I do feel like Avatara is still quite good. Now, I understand that he's going to counterattack a lot on his second skill, but the thing is, whenever he does not counterattack, and do take note that you can only counterattack once per turn, then the Sword Avatara has a 25% chance of effecting itself, which means that you will be using your first skill instead of your second skill to counterattack. And your first skill does come with a stun, so I do feel like Sword Avatara is not bad. So it's kind of similar to Jiangma in the sense that if your passive fails to counterattack, then you would rely on your Sword Avatara. So I think Sword Avatara is probably the way to go for most Everett builds out there. And then we can move on to Fafnir as well. There are some sets that are quite useful. So number one, if you're going to be building a little bit more damage, then Hammer of Thor is definitely the way to go. 40% extra crit damage is really huge. And then next for me, I think I'm going to go for Tyranny of Zeus for that 20% chance of landing a stun whenever you land an attack. So whenever I counterattack with a Sword Avatara, or even on my passive skill, there is going to be a 20% chance that I'm going to return with a stun, which is going to be quite huge. But do take note that every single one of the builds that I mentioned before the Tyranny of Zeus can be built without accuracy, except for maybe Snow Dowager, because I do feel like Snow Dowager requires accuracy to land, but Tyranny of Zeus does require accuracy to land. So the way you want to build Everett while using Tyranny of Zeus is going to be with a lot more accuracy than your normal standard DPS builds. Therefore, for most other cases, you might want to build with crit damage, HP, and HP, or crit damage, HP, and speed. But I think I'll personally be going with HP, HP, speed with accuracy subs. I don't think I want to focus too much on his damage output. Now, the next question that some of you guys might be having is, how then can you farm Chronos and Apep effectively? I've already talked about Chronos and I've already talked about Apep. I'll put the links up at the top. But as for Fafnir, I have not actually discussed this before. So I'm currently using one specific team that is a little bit more pay to win, but it works really, really well. So let's take a look at the team over here. Alright, here we go. So this team is working really well for me. I'm just going to stop the naughty battle after this. So the way this team works is Catherine is just going to dispel all the debuffs on my team. and then Ahmed is just going to keep healing and giving me the extra attack bonus within the boss wave, right? So this team is actually quite complete because I have attack buff from Ashley, and I have the healing from Ahmed, and I have the debuff cleansing from Catherine. And on top of that, I also have a speed lead, which is quite useful, right? 25% speed lead, and extra DPS in the form of Tang Yun. So this team is actually quite conclusive. And the best part is it's relatively fast as well. It's somewhere around 2 minutes, which is the fastest that I have at this point of time. So in the boss fight, it's actually quite straightforward, but do take note that in Fafnir, especially in Fafnir, I do feel like you can use many different kinds of espers. So you're not actually limited to like 1 or 2 archetypes. There are many different ways for you to use different espers. So for example, you can use Lin, you can use KFC as well, you can use Lu Yi. There are many different kinds of espers that I can't think of right at the top of my head right now. Oh, and on top of that, you can also use Jin Yu Yao for the debuff removal, because right now she can also strip buffs with her 3rd skill, which means she can remove the immunity buff that the boss has over here. So that's something else, but I just feel like Catherine is probably like the most optimal choice in terms of debuff cleansing. And I do know that some players actually do not run with debuff cleansing, they run with immunity instead, which is totally fine. So you can use Gabrielle as well. I just do not really prefer using Gabrielle because she has quite a long downtime on her multi-hitting 2nd skill. So there is that, and oh my god, we just lost one of our key espers here. But I think it should still be fine. It shouldn't be too much of a problem. Yeah, because we can definitely down him with our Tang Yun over here. So this is the team that I'm running. I will show you my relics afterwards. And I know some of you guys are going to be asking like, oh, I do not have this esper, what can I do? Just try to stick to the same archetype. So if you lack a healer and you desperately need a healer, you can use Berenice, dude. Berenice is enough as a soul healer. Well, a healer. That's because she comes with regeneration buffs. But her shield is so useful here. So let's take a look at the average runtime. 2 minutes 25 seconds. Okay, we lost one of them. This is actually one loss out of like 38 runs. So this is actually my first loss over here. But sometimes the average goes down quite a fair bit. So I had one with like 1 minute 50 seconds. So I guess it all just comes down to luck. Now here are my relics. So this is Sander. Here are his stats. He's just a speedy offense. Tang Yun as well, slightly speedy, but mostly offense. Ashley, I've actually kept out all of her skills as well, with quite a decent amount of speed, and I think I could do with more attack, especially against bosses like Fafnir. And here are the stats of Catherine. She is quite fast for the set that she's on. And then we have Ahmed here, who I just recently built. So just a lot of HP, just try to focus as much as you can on HP, and speed is kind of like second. Well, not really secondary, I think they're both equally important, but HP is definitely super important. So I can definitely show you another team that works. So instead of all of these 5 espers, right, instead of all of them, you can definitely run a Jin Yu Yao in place of Catherine. And you can absolutely run a team that looks like this. But the thing is, if you do not have a Jin Yu Yao, all hope is not lost. You can definitely replace with a Gabrielle here. And if you're thinking of needing a little bit more buffing and AP pushing, which you can do, then you might even consider replacing one of them for an extra Dahlia instead. So there you go, that's it for this video. I guess that's all that I can talk about for how you can prepare for Everett and a new patch that is coming on Tuesday. So let me know down in the comments below if you're doing anything else in preparation for Everett. And I wish you guys all the best, happy farming. And if you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, it really helps the channel, and subscribe for more Dislyte content. Now with that said, this has been Free to Play, and as always, I will see you in the next video.